Welcome to part 2. As I record, I'm unsure how soon this video is coming out relative to part 1, if even in the same year, but I hope we're excited anyway. I absolutely adore these 5 upcoming songs. Might as well all be in the transcendent tier. They're on the cusp for sure. Now let's get on with this list. Go for it, tryhard ninja.
Just when you think you're safe, overhear some hissing from right behind, right behind.
Okay, so I was gonna announce this at the end of the video, but I made a YouTube Pop Critic community's favorite hits of 2010 Spotify playlist, which includes every song I've seen appear on a best of 2010 list so far, and I'll update it whenever I see a new one of these list videos pop up. By every song I've seen appear, I mean only songs that ended up on someone's top 10. Basically, if the song appeared as an honorable mention, it gets 1 point. If it appeared at the number 10 spot, it gets 2 points. Number 9, 3 points. Number 1, 11. Points can come from 2009 lists if the hit was bigger in 2010. Obviously, some of these songs are more popular than others. Some even appear on like every best list and
It's a quarter after 1. Beautiful girls all over the world. I could be chasing.
Dang, I can usually think of some creative analysis, unique perspective, something to make them look more important than they actually are. If you're one of the few people watching who hasn't seen another Best of 2010 list, well, you're not in luck, because I cannot explain the greatness of Nothing on You like all these other people did. I also made an unlisted playlist of every YouTube Best of 2010 list I could find, and it's in the description if you want it, so you should check out what everyone has to say about this down there. No, before you click off in disappointment, let me at least talk you through the feel Nothing on You gives you and why it's so appealing to everyone.
Beautiful girls all over the world.
Yeah, this is one of the cutest songs ever. From the first chorus jumping in like a big hug, the welcoming pianos, Bruno Mars and B.o.B's wonderful playing off each other. This was both of their first singles apparently, and B.o.B's wonderful flows and lyrics that can't be described in many ways better than sincere.
Of the things in my past that I've done. Most of it really was for the hell of the fun.
Okay, this first verse no one acknowledges, because how much does it contribute to the song compared to the charming second verse and iconic chorus? B.o.B raps about how, well, he wasn't the most gentlemanly guy in the past.
With no direction, just trying to get some. Trying to chase skirts, living in the summer sun. And so I lost more than I had ever won. And honestly, I ended up with none.
Aww, I'm indifferent to this. Him being an idiot in the past when it came to girls, but promising that this new woman he's with can count on him to stay loyal as he can. Sure, the world is filled with the most beautiful ladies, and by the way, this is one of the only times where the girl world rhyme feels natural and doesn't annoy me, but this girlfriend of his, she's on a whole nother level, a whole nother tier. The others can be pretty good, excellent maybe, but this girl is a hard 6 out of 5 transcendent, way beyond perfection, locked number 1 on December's best list. This is seriously a great song that can easily sweep most women off their feet. It did for me, probably since this came out. I remember one memory of singing this in front of the bathroom mirror while a relative did my hair. I kinda assumed this song represented the vibe of most B.o.B songs, not gonna lie. Airplanes, Magic, all are really cool in a family-friendly way. No. Even besides B.o.B's hiccup from 2016 that's been talked to death already, he's put out some surreal, unexpected, like sometimes trash post levels. Here's one out of context.
Our drive is in beast mode. You try to start yours and you stall. At the end of the day, we do what we want to do and that's all. President Barack Obama and B.o.B approved this message. Because F 'em, we ball.
Stan, I guess? Anyway, Nothing on You is one Build-A-Bear plush of a song that is absolutely deserving of all the praise it's gotten across the board.
I might say hey, but you shouldn't worry about what they say, 'cause they got nothing on you. That's a nice life you have, shame it's gotta end at this time.
The these next two segments, I'm going to be talking about production a lot. Despite not studying music theory, like the most hands-on experience I've ever had with instruments was briefly taking violin in 3rd grade orchestra for a few months, before switching schools, which complicated things too much for me to continue, and then before going to middle school I had to state my experience with music and explained that, which put me in 6th grade orchestra without me knowing beforehand. Then I quit the year after. Look, I may be examining these from a normie perspective, but you don't need to be a chef to know something tastes exceptional, you know? I'm just out here vibing, admiring these pieces of art in every way I can, trying to do them justice, but I promise to educate myself on music theory every week as my 2021 New Year's resolution. Only then, once I reach my final form, will I surely be able to please my siren goddess, Alicia Keys. I'm awing at this song's atmosphere, the air this tune breathes, the air beyond fresh and an aroma beyond lovely, the simple, somber pianos this uses as a canvas, as earth perhaps. With the other instruments breathing life into it like friendly animals working in harmony in a beautiful rainforest at midnight during the summer. And the full moon lighting this environment up is Alicia's vocals. I'll go over what she's saying exactly before I go into how these forest critters interact with that. Throughout Unthinkable, she persuades that you two who are just secret lovebirds at the moment should go and become a couple and show that off to the world. Doesn't justify the somber B minor mood of the song at first, but over time, you can sense the really large stakes of the situation and how important a decision this is, how it may affect yourselves and others. Because the idea of you two being together alone is unthinkable, controversial, and unconventional. In the music video, we see it's because of the interracialness, a white man and a black woman, and fittingly, it starts back in the 50s when this was a way bigger deal, though this problem progresses through the decades into modern times. Unthinkable can be about different unthinkable couples in any ways you want them to be. The couple's families can be passionate soccer fans of opposing teams, or one is filled with Taylor Swift stans and the other is filled with Kanye stans. Oh no, this song does not deserve that kind of discrediting. They can be Romeo and Juliet, an angel with a fallen angel, a gay girl with another girl. Hey, Unthinkable can be a sapphic anthem. It fits. If the Drake contribution doesn't ruin that for you at least. Alicia Keys isn't known for having many deep words in her discography. Almost half the time her lyrics sound redundant or just corny and predictable. Unthinkable is a step up. Every line does something, emphasizes her point, describes her feelings, adding to all this modest elegance. The lines that hit the hardest are in the chorus, particularly "It would be so beautiful indeed." Alicia, knowing the potential consequences of declaring her love for you, couldn't stand any timeline where you two don't become significant others, wondering the consequences this could bring but wanting to do this anyway. Big props to Drake for writing a very well-written Alicia Keys hit. Now with that in mind, what sort of instruments do we have here to support these melodies? Honestly, I can't figure some of them out. Bass. Oh, woodwinds. That guitar is such a nice change of pace. It's energizing. And the thunder, the crashing thunder coming in towards the end of the chorus, appropriate because of what you're getting into by committing to this relationship. The claps play one of the most important roles here, staying there throughout the whole thing, keeping pace. But my favorite instrument here is the cowbell. Back at it again, I adore them, and you can only really hear them in the intro and outro, which are the parts of Unthinkable which really grab your heart and gaze into your eyes. The low pianos like the wind, the claps like the anxious crowd surrounding you, and the cowbells like the beating of your heart. Again, ballads do not utilize these enough. They're so effective because they add so much atmosphere and life so subtly that creates so much tension. This intimacy is so awe-inspiring. If I'm over-exaggerating, overselling Unthinkable while sleeping on other songs with just as great production, sorry. I'll never not love the sound of this though. Thank you, Producer 40, who also did Take Care, Hold On, We're Going Home, and Tonight's for What. Great stuff, great stuff. So yeah, entries 4 and 3 contain my favorite instrumentals ever, at least thus far in my journey of listening to Hot 100 hits, with so much personality and texture, so much heart in them, elevating these otherwise good songs with surprisingly thoughtful lyrics to that even higher level, that highest level. What's the other one like this? Well, let's pause before we continue. I'm gonna be going over a few honorable mentions first, because the top 3 we're heading towards are actually some of my top 50 favorite songs of all time at the moment, very likely transcendent tier. So you might want a breather to try, give the lifeguard a break before we dive right back in.
Blows up, then your health bar drops and you could use a one-up. Get inside, don't be tardy.
Pretty cool how iconic Kesha's party chick persona is, even more so how that persona shifts between her songs in a way. Here, she's an immature, giddy, lovesick kind of girl, reckless in an adorable way. Great line, by the way. I'm probably underrating this, but it does hit unapologetically hard and I appreciate it for that. Neon Trees is great. Also, shout out to Magic, Find Your Love, Only Exception, Rude Boy, and Say Something. Not doing separate entries on those because there's way too many good 2010 songs. Let's go over 4 more that actually did have a chance at making the list at first.
Like a melody in my head.
Reminds me a lot of Mood, to be honest. Insanely catchy hits with not the most competent lyrics that still put a smile on everyone's faces, except Todd's for some reason.
Is it good? No. It's just a blitheringly boring song, and it's tough to know what to say about it.
Ah yes, DJ Got Us Fallen in Love, the Rather Be from 2014 of 2010 because of its technical, objective perfection on a critical level. Well, almost. Because Pitbull actually pushes this over the edge of perfection. I don't know, the song just sort of goes in a not very interesting straight line, hitting hard enough to dance to but not really hitting high enough peaks. Something would clearly be missing without Pitbull's fun, lighthearted energy that comes with his brag rapping. This was Pitbull's first real big year of being a featured artist on hits, his other one like this being I Like It. The point of his presence is to bring a goofy, lighthearted energy Usher can't, so Pitbull's the best part of the song in my opinion. I think a way to describe this in a nutshell is Gen X at their most millennial. I like this, okay? It hits the roof of the good tier. Almost excellent. Don't throw rocks at me. This is great. Not as great as Dynamite though. Or...
Now this was a charming little song. That's a real sleeper hit with no promotion that just everyone seemed to love and not get sick of.
Don't stop, make it.
And here, Kesha's the coolest, most hip, most liked party girl in town. Okay, my problem with DJ Got Us Fallen in Love Again as well as Club Boom hits from later years is that I feel like they don't have as much of an edge to them, you know? They're more afraid to be chaotic and immature. Sure, they can have a really upbeat and positive energy, but not an energy spicy enough to actually make you feel you're in a club, right? These focus harder on being polished and replayable and being able to age well, but honestly, that can kinda water them down. And that's not quite the spirit of partying, is it? Shouldn't they be more rough around the edges, bang the hardest at the right moments? That's why I love $Kesha. That's why I love Like a G6. And that's why I love 2010. I might sound like a hypocrite now after gushing about more sophisticated music, and right after this I'm gonna gush about more well-aged production perfection. But some songs need that polish more than others, and club bangers aren't a part of that. If they bang hard enough, if they got iconic hooks, and they truly embody the spirit of the turn of the decade party like we embody the spirit of Christmas every December, that's good enough for me.
Fly like a G6.
And now, back to your regularly scheduled program.
So now you're stuck in there. Half a heart is left, but don't die, 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 die.
Woo, top 3. Alright, here's one that's personal to me. Like how What Do You Want From Me is an anthem for gay introverts, this is an anthem for neurodivergent introverts.
I'd like to make myself believe this planet Earth.
Unfortunately, also like with What Do You Want From Me, it's hard to really focus on analyzing this song seriously when listening to it, because whenever this comes on, I'm just baby again. I just go into baby mode, getting 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs, all 10,000 simultaneously embracing my chubby infant body as one in a total of 1,000 times. Okay, apparently the song has a dark message about Owl City's trouble falling asleep, insomnia this, dissociation that, depression. No, cut that out. I just want to sing about cute dancing bugs with my stuffed animals, leave me alone. But how, my English teacher may be asking, is Firefly so effective at generating the specific mood inside of you? What about its lyrics, its composition, its performance captivates the listener to the theme and overall song? Remember, MLA format 12 pixel times New Roman double space numbered pages. And to that I say, bro, you seriously think this needs explaining? Okay. The intro of Fireflies is one of the best moments of 2010. The adorable little synths making that popping sound. Well, not really popping, but I just stim to them, okay? They make my ears jump for joy and smile. Followed by those twinkly starry noises. All these instruments just come in at the most perfect times, maybe add suspense here and there, just enough to keep you entertained, but not too much to take you out of your childlike vibe. Violins, soft percussion, and
Is they tried to teach me.
whatever's making those quirky popping sounds, let's see here. Since the legato ran through some low pass and guitar stuff, who cares about technicalities? This is the most joyful instrumental ever. Oh, rock elements in the chorus? That works here for some reason. Every element blends in together so well, easily painting the most dreamlike, most enchanting image in my mind, the most well-aced production on this list by a long shot, and this was the very first single Owl City put out. He, 23-year-old Adam Young, was literally just up late in his parents' basement at 2 a.m. fooling around with his keyboard, and a few hours later, Fireflies happened. And it got big on MySpace, and it happened even more. And it got bigger, number 1 on the Hot 100 big, in multiple countries like the US and UK big, and it happened even more. What I'm trying to say is, Owl City is a genius. Legit. He and the other producer Matt Thiessen, aw, that ruins the magic, having another guy around. Still, Owl City and the other guy deserve a lot more hard respect simply for this. He deserves more respect because of the production on his other songs too. He deserves credit for these lyrics too. I mean, way to capture the imagination of every neurodivergent child at heart into one neat little track, describing dissociation, trouble focusing, and especially trouble sleeping because of our constantly racing minds, in the language of a happy-go-lucky 7-year-old, turning it all into a fun little metaphor involving fireflies.
When I'm far too tired to fall asleep.
That line is not some cheap, clumsy oxymoron, by the way. I legit experienced that, when you feel too numb and out of it to actually fall asleep, even though you could easily describe that feeling as exhaustion. Owl City is just such an autistic king. That's right, he has Asperger's, the man's on the spectrum, and his first single became a number 1 hit in 9 countries, in his parents' basement, in the middle of the night. Wouldn't be surprised if he was responsible for the rise of bedroom and DIY pop too. I'd even go as far as putting responsibility on him for the beginning of hyperpop. His 2007 to 2012 albums, the blueprint to hyperpop, as far as I know, oh my god, this man.
I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, because my dreams are bursting at the seams.
Speaking of bedroom hyperpop, you guys gotta check out my friend Canary on Spotify or SoundCloud. They deserve a lot more attention than they have. They just got such interesting surreal production that you just melt in. Dreamlike stuff like Owl City. They're also featured on a couple of Tiptoe songs. You should stream them when you're done watching. Link to them's in the description.
Dig up diamonds and craft those diamonds and make some armor. Get it, baby, go and forge that like you so. MLG Pro, the sword's made of diamonds, so come at me, bro, huh?
It's 1:15. I'm all alone and
It's kind of funny. Both this and my worst list have the year's by far most hated or loved song, the one claiming the most #1 spots, at number 2. For Deuces, it was there because while I don't hate it as much as other people, I understand why its existence is as harmful as it is. In other words, I'm not very passionate about it but just sorta went with the general consensus. Vice versa does not apply to Need You Now, because I really loved this from the first moment I heard this, the earliest moment I can remember at least, which I heard in only small clips, because the melody really sucks you in, doesn't it?
need you now, and I don't know how I can do without.
That chorus is always so effective. The way these two wail their most desperate, most yearning, most vulnerable thoughts. They perform it in a way that makes them look doubly attractive than before. How does that work? I'll save you another rant about an instrumental. I mean, I don't have much to say about this one, but this does give me one of the few opportunities I can use the word perfect in an actual positive context. The piano and strings. There's an electric guitar there, adding the right amount of somber and mellowness to complement the wonderful vocals. They bring Need You Now to crazy, almost celestial levels in every way it can.
Guess I'd rather hurt than feel nothing at all. It's 1:15.
And that final bridge is especially the most bittersweet thing. Every element coming together in grandiose confidence. It would be a fantastic end credit song, a perfect one. After a few dozen listens to this, I can confidently say the song is the best version of itself. And that best version of itself is nearly unanimously agreed to be one of country's best of all time. Thank you, Lady America. Lady America. What happened to their previous name, Antebellum, you may be wondering? See, the name, well, pretty and classy sounding, I'll admit, has an extremely ugly origin. It describes the period before the American Civil War. They're also used to describe southern homes from that period, which were mansion plantation homes that are just not fun to think about and awful to name yourself that. So the Black Lives Matter movement rightfully got the country group to finally change their name. Now, what could they go for that sounds better than Antebellum? It's unlikely that there's another name out there just as classy sounding, perhaps having to do with regional pride, or maybe something beyond that, to flaunt their love of the red, white, and blue like they were already doing. Nah, instead they should take the stage name of a successful black woman, except without the same significance she has tied to her name, whereas the new Lady A just dropped 9 letters and called it a day, and sue Anita White if she speaks up about it. Such allies to the black community might as well also call themselves Lady Abraham Lincoln. Sorry. I just needed to go on a rant there. Not that this lady microaggression situation hinders my enjoyment of Need You Now. I mean, they'll always have my respect for just bringing this song into existence. But can we keep trying to cancel them into getting a good new name that actually respects African Americans? Or at least avoid supporting their newer content? Well, that wasn't a fun ending to the segment, so let's move on to the last bunch of honorable mentions to lighten things up before the final segment. Yay!
Training in your room under this porch light, home that phone to get you ready for the big fight. every single day in the home, night creepers out prowling. Alright.
Just haven't met you yet.
The only acceptable kind of white. The only white I like is holiday music, and this kind of sounds like one of those, not gonna lie.
Baby, I like it.
What I said about DJ God Has Fallen in Love, Pitbull's verse, and Like a G6. I don't know, I guess I really do enjoy my party songs poorly aged production-wise than not. Even in spite of that, I think this is great 80s nostalgia. These synths hit hard in all the right places, and that Lionel Richie samples. So good, I don't get why.
You see me watching you. I love the way you move. I like them things you do like. Don't stop, baby. Don't stop, baby.
Oh, this bridge is excellent. I wish it went on for a little longer, maybe. Oh, and before you bring up that this is a cheating anthem, I get it if that makes it harder for you to enjoy this. I'm sorry you also can't enjoy Yeah like most people either. Oh boy, when I get to talking about the 90s in 10 years, you might get really tired of hearing about Ace of Base. I love them and their signature sound so much. Feels a little watered down and squeaky clean compared to California Girls. That's the only criticism, no, nitpick I have to give. Because of this, I'm gonna start wishing on airplanes like you wish on stars from now on. Great advice, you guys. Actually, I don't plan on seriously doing that. I just can't think of much to say for this one. Just believe me, this song is so wonderful. Oh, I was obsessed with this when I was younger. The chorus's melody stuck with me everywhere, and I adored the quirky rah-rah ooh-la-las. At first, honestly, Gaga's flamboyant Europeanish accent she does here did get really annoying when my little sister began to overplay this, and it's still hard to listen to at times. But that's one of Gaga's shticks, and this might as well be her signature song. Her fun oddities right there in a neat little package. You really just gotta respect it.
You are the thunder and I am the lightning.
So nostalgic for this. In 2013 or whenever Come and Get It was big, a friend recommended that I check out Selena Gomez on Disney Music, and I did. And I was stuck on that site all day and I have no clue why. It just cycled through all of her music videos over and over and over again. The only two I actually liked were Hit the Lights, which is pretty decent for a Selena Gomez song, I like it, and Naturally, which was just on a way nother level and still is. She was so young back then, clearly still with Disney, but somehow had more of a real edge that's way less cringy than the mature stuff she's been putting out since. This was locked on the list for the longest time, tied with Unthinkable. I guess the more I listened to this, the less impressive it sounded, I guess. Though obviously this is still amazing. It makes you feel like you're surrounded by a wind of freedom flying around you. Alicia Keys is so much more powerful than she lets on the surface. And here, Kesha's the leader of a pack of hipsters ready to destroy the town and make some noise. This keeps poking at me to let it onto the list already. It's number 11, almost tied with California Girls, but eventually I did realize I do vibe to this slightly less and nostalgia isn't as strong here, so dumb irrational reasons. But of course, like with Animal, Take It Off hits so aggressively, unapologetically hard, and I have to commend it for that. That's all.
Look at me, look at you, take my revenge, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm a warrior, baby, what else is new? And my blade's gonna tear
'Cause
through you.
baby,
Bring it.
tonight, the creeper's trying to steal all our stuff again.
Getting stuff? Yeah, let's take back
Yeah,
the world.
baby, tonight, grab your sword, armor, and gold.
It's on.
Take your revenge. So fight, fight like it's the last night of your life. I'm sure them you're right. 'Cause baby, tonight, the creeper's trying to steal all our stuff again. 'Cause baby, tonight.
I've said a lot of controversial takes today, with personal bias all over the place for someone with critiques in her name. I do think I can give good critical insight on what I review, but calling me a music critic might be a misnomer, and calling this a best list is especially a misnomer, which is why favorite has been in the titles of all these vids. And that trend is unfortunately continuing, folks, all the way to the end, meaning I think today I can safely move myself from the neutral good to rebel good alignment. Subscribe to all these based people on the screen, by the way. But don't get me wrong, please don't get me wrong at all. I have zero doubts placing this above Need You Now, and always have. I mean, this even has my favorite qualities from Need You Now. However, most of you people probably consider this impressively beautiful at best, and honestly, I can't blame you all that much for that. I mean, this song likely had to perform a very specific series of events in my life for me to even consider this like one of my top 10 favorites of all time. Okay, I'm done discrediting this. I'm grateful to have this in my life. I'm proud of having this forever tied to my music identity, and I'm honored to stand the Black Eyed Peas.
Hey girl, what's up, yo? What's up,
Can you
what's up,
meet me
what's up?
halfway? Right up the borderline is where I'm going away. For you, I'll be looking out.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to repeat this cliche, but Meet Me Halfway truly is the kind of song that you just let bathe over you in a dark room with your eyes closed, with headphones in 8D, or perhaps at a karaoke hangout with your friend on a special occasion. Singing the chorus of this song is fun.
So bad, it's my only wish.
Fergie here is the sun that the rest of this revolves around. What she does here is so special to me. Technically, what she's doing here is an impression of your typical 80s pop darling. What songs do you think of? Think Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper, Borderline by Madonna. You know, singing in a higher range, letting their voices float naturally out of their lips in a way that would be insulting to call anything less than majestic, angelic. How common that was in the 80s is probably my favorite part of the entire decade. The lulling, poppy, almost childlike and kinda thin yet rich feminine voices, princessy voices that I'm incredibly in love with. There's no way I could ever do their elegance justice by describing them in my limited vocabulary. In case you're wondering, no, this doesn't make Meet Me Halfway a full 80s throwback, I'd say, but it does certainly use one of my favorite of the decade's blessings as its core. Fergie looked up to what Madonna did there and immersed in it, baptized in it, coming back to sing Meet Me Halfway in a new elevated spirit, and singing these gorgeous melodies like she's Eve, yearning for Adam, with all the longing and intimacy it needs to absolutely captivate me every time. And here I go over talking the imagery. But Meet Me Halfway's sound really is a huge reason as to why I adore it so much. In fact, screw it, I'll admit. Same goes for most of my favorite songs, as you've pretty much been seeing all this time. And same goes for my least favorite songs too. I was way more passionate about hating Rock That Body in My First Kiss than Deuces, remember? And honestly, my actual least favorite song of all time, which we will have to talk about one day, the only main thing I hate about it is its sound. Sound is all that matters to Camz critiques. Explains a lot, don't it? Now let's talk about the other Black Eyed Peas. It's true that this could have been a better song. Apty Apt's out here in the first verse using my least favorite vocal gimmick ever on himself.
I spend my time just thinking.
The low pitch shifting, which has always made me super uncomfortable back in the day. No, seriously, I used to be extremely mixed about Meet Me Halfway, all because of that. I hope it'll make more sense when I cover more verse lists on why I hate that vocal effect, but I think it actually sorta works here. Ginormous contrast between literally anything and everything Fergie is doing. Of course, Apty Apt's verses would work better if his lines were smarter and more complex so he didn't sound like Patrick Star. So maybe this guy's verse doesn't work. Do I care? will.i.am is next. He sings about how far he'd travel for this girl he's clearly meeting more than halfway with. Smarter lines. Willie Boy does sound smarter than usual for this era in the Peas. Not to slander anyone or anything, of course.
Let's go bridge.
Then Taboo does the bridge, my favorite non-Fergie part of the song. This clearly has a galactic, not quite extraterrestrial, but beyond worldly energy to it with the spacey synths and robotic effects that really aren't that awkward at all. So his cyborg vocals do work here in my opinion. It fits that atmosphere, another contrast to Fergie's pure Bible times vocals with something so futuristic and... Okay, let me establish now that the lyrics in the song don't matter. The lyrics in Meet Me Halfway don't freaking matter. They don't contribute to my enjoyment because Queen Ferguson carries everyone and everything so hard. The lyrics can just be there to support the Queen's melodies to make them doubly celestial. Like I said, she's a star to the song's universe. I swear, if I have to call this a song one more time, I quit. What's a good word to use in place of song because that song means so much to you it goes beyond any mortal levels of song? I'll settle on piece. A masterpiece. That's what Meet Me Halfway is to me. The Black Eyed Peas did that. Now, at this point, you're probably waiting for me to draw back the curtains that this masterpiece is actually so personal to me because of some crazy life experience. Because this helped me when I was in some bad mental state, helped me recover through something awful, or saved me in some other wacky way. Nah, I can try to pretend that it did that, but the only history me and this masterpiece have is that this was my favorite on one of my Kids Bop albums, so it was quite memorable to me because of that. But I haven't actually gotten to ever return to that song until Todd in the Shadow's Best of 2009 list with
Can you meet me halfway?
which I remembered but forgot about, and the Black Eyed Peas wrote and sang that? Wah? Except I got over that shock pretty quickly, because I've always kinda loved the Black Eyed Peas. My dad would always play Monkey Business in his car, and that album's been etched into my soul like a tattoo, I swear. That's a good thing, by the way. Aunt Fergie, as I already said, can have insane vocal talent in many songs. Don't Funk With My Heart is still incredible, even despite Rock That Body, my least favorite song from Beth, being from the same album as this. Should I still be surprised? But yeah, this never saved my life or anything. It's topping my best list here because I just adore this in all ways irrational. And expect all of my best lists to end this way. Expect some bizarre, liked but not loved, and very much flawed hit to claim the #1 spot and to be the hill I die on. And for this hill, I lie on it vulnerably and yearningly, like Fergie is here. I'll meet you guys at the borderline in a month. Take care.